It can impact visibility and your ability to control your truck. When hard, heavy rain hits, visibility can be gone in seconds. Your ability to scan for hazards is instantly diminished. You can't see far enough ahead to safely avoid an accident. In hard rain, you have to slow down. Be sure to increase your following distance immediately. Not only does the rain itself limit visibility, but spray from other vehicles can also make it very tough to see. Slowing down and having a good set of wipers are critical to your safety. A good pre-trip inspection can make a lot of difference. You have to check the condition of your wipers every time to make sure they're in good shape when you need them. Don't forget to check your lights too.
I can recall one time, I'm leaving downtown at 3 o'clock. I didn't get back in here till 8 because of the ice storm. But luckily, I had to take gas and everything else was working fine prior to me leaving that morning. So basically, I didn't have anything to worry about other than the cars in front of me.
Rain creates some immediate dangers. Why? Because to begin with, every road has a layer of oil in its surface. When rain begins to cover the roadway, the oil rises and sets on top of the collecting water. The first thing your tires touch is oil, and oil leads to very poor traction. This situation is at its worst during the first few minutes of rain. Slowing down is the best way to keep or regain the traction you need. Another hazard caused by heavy rain lies in the fact that other drivers may not know how to deal with it. Many times other drivers will pull over when driving becomes difficult, but often, without realizing it, they stop short of being all the way off the road. If you haven't slowed down and a parked or stalled vehicle suddenly appears in front of you, you can find yourself in a very dangerous situation. To drive defensively in the rain, you need to increase your following distance, slow down, and pay attention. When water starts to collect into larger pools on the road, your brakes can be at risk. Shift into a lower gear. Don't hit the brakes hard, just apply gentle pressure. This will keep moisture or mud from getting into the brakes and reducing their effectiveness. Remember that standing water can cause your truck to hydroplane. In the right conditions, you could find yourself floating on water, not driving, but taken for a ride.
Just the erratic driving of people and the rain, it's really intense. I can't compare it to the truck losing control in snow, but the traffic situations here with rain are really hazardous.
As the weather gets colder, your job doesn't get any easier, as black ice and snow become a threat to you. Black ice creates a dangerous situation. As the temperature drops, water on the road can freeze, particularly on overpasses, bridges, curves, and in low-lying areas. Black ice is tough to see, particularly at dusk or dawn, but it can cause you to lose control in a second. When the temperature starts to drop, pay close attention to spray coming off the tires of vehicles in front of you. When that spray disappears, you may be in the middle of some very dangerous black ice. Keep in mind, however, that there will sometimes be spray from water sitting on top of the ice. Another trick is to check your mirror with your fingertips. When you can feel ice forming on its back or edges, ice is forming on the road too.
You never know when you're going to run into an icy patch of road or a snowy patch of road that's going to cause you to go out of control. And maintaining a proper speed will allow you to handle your truck in a proper way if something does occur like that.
As the temperature nears freezing, snow and ice are sure to follow. Winter driving has its own special difficulties. As a professional, you have to be ready for them. As with rain, with snow comes lower visibility and less traction. Just like most other adverse situations, there is a critical first step: slow down. When snow is in the forecast, allow for extra time. Pre-trip inspections are always critical, but winter weather can make that inspection a lifesaver. Make sure your heater, defroster, and your wipers are in good condition. Check your tires. You'll need good tread depth to get good traction. You'll also need extra following distance in winter conditions. Your stopping distance can be as much as 10 times greater than on dry pavement. Use your low beams when snow impacts visibility. The bottom line, lower speeds and common sense are your best defenses against the assault of winter weather.
It's a very good idea to stay very focused on what is ahead of you at all times.
Fog can happen any time of year, and when it does, a serious accident can be just moments away. Always have your lights on, not only for your own better visibility, but so that other drivers can see you too. Above all, slow down. If you can only see 2 car lengths ahead, a safe speed is, at best, just 10 miles per hour. Fog requires a greater following distance and lower speeds. There may be times that fog will force you to stop. When you do, make sure you get all the way off the road and use your 4-way flashers so that other motorists can see you. Multiple rear-end collisions in fog are some of the deadliest accidents. Make sure it doesn't happen to you. If fog is thick, it may even help to use your 4-ways while driving.
And then there's wind. Windy conditions alone can put your truck at risk. To make it worse, winds often arrive accompanied by rain or snow.
Wind can put tremendous pressure on the side of your vehicle. When it kicks into high gear, the danger to you is even greater. When wind crosses the road, the side of your vehicle can act like a sail, making it difficult to stay in your lane. Avoid driving side by side with other vehicles. The last thing you need is to get blown into another truck in the lane next to you. Side clearance is essential in windy conditions.
Adverse weather conditions are a fact of life, and your best defense against whatever they offer up is so simple. Slow down.
Rain and snow can affect your visibility and your traction. Always do a thorough pre-trip inspection. Check that your wipers, lights, tires, defroster, and heater are in good working condition. When it's tough to see, it's essential that you maintain a greater following distance. You have to drop your speed. Remember that traction is reduced on a rain-covered road due to oil rising to the surface, and standing pools or stretches of water can cause hydroplaning. Snow and ice can cut your safe stopping distance by up to 10 times. Fog requires slower speeds. If you have to stop your truck, get completely off the road and use your 4-way flashers. High winds can affect your ability to stay in your lane. Keep your speed down.
It's better to lose a few minutes than your load or your life.
It's a large vehicle. It takes time to stop and maneuver. And if you're not constantly aware of what's happening around you, injuries will happen.
Here it is, an empty truck. Chances are you've got to load it, deliver the cargo, and unload it, probably several times and at multiple locations. And guess what? You get to do it again tomorrow. Seeing that your cargo is properly loaded and unloaded is part of the job. If you do it right, your cargo arrives in good shape and the customer's happy. If you do it wrong, the load is damaged, the customer's unhappy, and so is the boss. If you do it really wrong, there goes your back or maybe your job. A couple of pretty unpleasant prospects.
If they carry too many at one time or if they're not using proper lifting techniques, that's when we start getting back injuries and other ergonomics-related problems. And those are the injuries that are most difficult to recover from, can be the most debilitating, and also the most costly for the company.
Their fitness level in general will make a big difference as to whether they're injured or not, kind of self-responsibility for their health. And that includes exercising, eating right, trying to be efficient, but using the most safe techniques that they can. It's difficult to use perfect body mechanics in almost any work environment, but there's a lot of things that can be applied even with loading and unloading of difficult freight.
There's a good possibility you transport a lot of different kinds of loads. Boxes, bundles, pallets, and just about any type of container you can imagine. While there are basic rules for loading and unloading cargo, it all starts with your personal safety. Back injuries are the most common type of workplace injuries. Each year, over 1 million people get laid up with back problems. And according to government statistics, 3 out of 4 occurred while the employee was lifting something. A back injury not only keeps you off the job, it hurts. And it can hurt for a long time. It can even do permanent damage. Knowing the right way to lift and doing it right every time can keep your back healthy. The basic rule of back safety is never to lift it by yourself if there's a chance it's too heavy. Test the weight by lifting the corner. If you need help, get it or use a mechanical lifting device. Sometimes a package you could normally lift will cause problems because of its awkward shape or size. Before you start, check out the surrounding area. Are there any obstacles or other hazards like a slippery floor? Keep your feet close to the load and center yourself over it when you're ready to lift. Bend your knees, get a good grip, and lift straight up. Use your legs, not your back. While you move the load, keep it close to your body and turn with your feet. It's not just the weight that can cause damage. Back injuries can also result from sudden twists or turns. Lower your load with your legs. Don't bend over. If you have to move an object without lifting, never pull it. Always push it. Pulling puts greater pressure on the back and can cause an injury.
Well, truck drivers generally are in the top 3 each year in terms of occupational injuries, more specifically back injuries. They are at risk because of the heavy nature of their job, but there are a lot of things that they can do to help prevent injuries.
The one thing about a back injury, it makes you more conscious of those muscles. And so, you know, once it hurts really bad, you remember after that the proper way to lift.
If you have access to a 2-wheel dolly or other mechanical aid, use it. It can save you a lot of time. But used incorrectly, it can still put your back out and risk other injuries to your feet and ankles. Make sure the load is stacked and balanced. You want to have the tongue of the dolly all the way under the load. Do a test move to see if the load is stable. Just move the load a short distance to assure yourself that the load won't fall off. Before you move the load, make sure you have a clear path. To push the dolly, use your leg muscles. Keep your back straight at all times. You should use one hand to steer and the other to keep the load secured. To protect your back, stop the dolly with your legs, not with your back muscles. One last guideline for dollies. Don't pull them into your truck. Always push them in. Lift from the bottom and slide up and in. Don't forget to secure the dolly once it's in the truck. Since some loads are stacked on pallets, you'll have to use a mechanical lifting device such as a pallet jack. Before you use a pallet jack, make sure it's in good working condition. Don't overload the jack and obscure your vision. Remember that all weight creates its own momentum and a heavy load can be hard to stop, so take it easy. If the jack is equipped with a horn, beep it at blind corners. If there's no horn, listen carefully, coming through. Announce your presence and take it slow. If you have to use an elevator, back in. That way you're well inside when the doors close.
Without the basket, everything would either be carried on your shoulder are carried in lifting, there'd be a lot more bending over. It just saves on the wear and tear of your back. And most back injuries are from the continual use, not from the one instance, but from the hundreds of instances before that.
Knowing how to keep yourself safe is the first thing, and making sure that the load is safe is your second priority. If you think about it, when you're handling loads, you have one of the most important jobs of your company. If the goods are delivered in good shape, you've done your job and you keep a satisfied customer. There are all sorts of cargo to load, but while they all may be different, there is one constant. The load has to be stable. It can't shift or fall during transport. Not only could the load be damaged, it could cause you to have an accident. Securing each type of load requires its own technique. Make sure you follow your company's procedures every time. And if you don't know for sure what those are, ask your supervisor. Some basic techniques that are used to secure straight truck cargoes are blocking and bracing, belts, straps, and other tie-downs, and tarps. Blocking and bracing keeps your cargo from sliding. Blocking is secured to the floor and should fit snugly against the cargo. Bracing is also used to prevent movement and tipping of the load. Belts, straps, and tie-down assemblies are great for securing cargo, and for trucks without sides, they keep the load from falling off. Here are some simple guidelines for the use of these cargo restraining devices. Make sure that the rated load limit of the tie-down can handle the cargo. The general rule of thumb is 1.5 times the weight of whatever item you are securing, and check that it's in good condition before using it. Use a minimum of 1 tie-down for every 10 feet of cargo, and always use 2 no matter how small the load. For open loads that consist of loose material like sand or gravel, or loads that need protection from the weather, you'll need to use a tarp. Make sure that the tarp is large enough to cover the entire load and is securely attached. When you're driving, use your mirrors to make sure that the tarp hasn't come loose. A loose tarp can create a hazardous situation for motorists behind you and could even cause an accident.
It's important to secure your load to keep from the load shifting, tipping over, damaging your cargo, damaging the truck, and maybe losing control of the truck.
Loading and unloading your truck is something you are responsible for every day. Do it correctly and your load and your body comes through without damage. When you lift, lift the right way. Never try to lift a package that seems too heavy to handle by yourself. Keep close to the object and lift with your legs, not your back. And put it down the same way. Keep your back straight at all times. When using a dolly, push with your legs, not your back, and let your legs lower the dolly tongue, not your back. Pallet jacks can build up a lot of momentum, so keep it slow and make sure that others are alerted to your presence. Make sure you follow your company's policies for securing loads. If you use blocking and bracing, keep it snug to the load. Belts and other tie-downs should be rated at least 1.5 times greater than the weight they are securing. And always check your tarp during transport. If it starts to flap, re-secure it immediately.
Yes, it's important to get it done fast and efficiently, but even more important is we don't want you to have a back injury so you're out for the next 3 weeks. And we can't afford to lose you, even for a day. So make an extra trip, think about what you're doing, always. And yeah, you do have to slow down more than once in a while to make sure that no injuries come out of getting that job done.
The long-haul tractor-trailer driver spends a lot of time on the open highway. Fewer drivers, fewer vehicles, and in general, less risk on a moment-to-moment basis.
But very often that's not what you face. As a straight truck driver, you're likely to spend much of your time in some of the most crowded and dangerous driving there is.
Chrome-on-chrome highway traffic, clogged city streets, and other drivers who, well, let's not go there.
You've got a tough job. As a professional driver, you need to get your load to your customers safely and on time. But one miscalculation, and you can face an accident that threatens your load, your truck, or even your life.
We really try to stress to them that injuring themselves or other people with this vehicle is something that they have to be mindful of at all times. It can happen. And only by being patient out there, understanding the weight that you've got on your truck and what's on each side of you, will you be successful out there.
Avoiding an accident is entirely up to you. You can't control what other drivers may do. You can't control the road debris that turns up in your way. Let's face it, when you're driving, there's only one thing you can control: how you drive every minute. Defensive driving is your key to getting home safely every day without leaving any damage in your wake.
Defensive driving isn't just an attitude. It's a set of techniques that can keep you on the road operating safely. You spend a lot of time in that truck. When things are going smoothly, it's easy to relax. That's just when something unexpected will happen.
It's amazing how many drivers know to look yet never see anything.